Hello, I'm Lauren with IndoorGardening.com, and today we're going to talk about how to acclimate your plants. Acclimating your plants can sound a little complicated and a little scary. A lot of folks will tell you if you don't do it, your plants will pass on and will not survive. This is somewhat true to an extent. Plants will have a lot of issues. They will struggle. They can sometimes make it and sometimes not make it, depending on how extreme the condition differences are. In order to prevent any issues, acclimating your plants slowly from one environment to another can really help the chances of your plant's survival. When do you have to acclimate your plant? Generally, you have to acclimate your plant when they're coming from one extreme condition to another extreme condition. For example, if your plants are coming from a high humidity environment like a greenhouse or a terrarium and you're trying to get them used to your native environment, you are taking your plant from somewhere around 75 to 80% humidity and trying to have it survive somewhere that could be as low as 20 to 30% humidity. Your plant is going to struggle quite a bit if this is the case, and it's going to need some time in order to get used to big changes. It's like picking someone up and taking them from the tropics and then trying to get them used to Alaska, where the average is like 60 degrees. It's not going to work out so well. They're probably going to be a little grumpy and need a lot more layers. So it's the same with plants. They don't like change any more than people do, so we just have to get them slowly used to the new environments. That is when you would acclimate them. There are 4 different situations in which you would acclimate your plants, and we are going to go over how to acclimate them from the one extreme to the other today for you. So the first one we want to talk about is acclimating your plant from high humidity to a lower humidity. Generally, what you are going to do is try to open up the greenhouse or the high humidity environment and lower that humidity slightly. You want to lower it for a day or two from the highest percentage it has in there down to maybe 10% less, just to kind of let your plant get used to it. It's kind of like training for a high altitude climb. Your plant has to get used to breathing with less humidity and able to be self-sufficient for themselves. So that takes a little bit of time. So for just a day or two, you're going to let them sit in that lower humidity, and then you're going to open it a bit more and let more humidity out, lower it a bit more, let more humidity out, and you just continue doing that until the plant is used to your average humidity, whatever that humidity is. If you do not know, you can get a hydrometer for just a couple of dollars. But this is a fantastic, irreplaceable tool just so that you know exactly what the temperature and what the humidity is, either in your greenhouse or in your plant room. And in both situations, you're going to know what your plant is going to have to adjust to. So this is a vital tool for you. But after you get your plant slowly used to that new lower humidity, you can then take them out and place them wherever you want them to be. Generally, try to keep the other conditions the same, and then you can change that slowly over time as well. For example, if they had a lot of light in the greenhouse and then you move them out, they're in a lower humidity environment now, you may want to change the lighting as well. We will go over that too in just a moment. Another thing to note is that there are plants that are specifically labeled terrarium plants that are supposed to be in a high humidity environment and will most likely not make it in a lower humidity environment. So keep that in mind when you're trying to acclimate your plants. Is it one of those that actually going to be able to survive in this lower humidity environment? With humidity, generally, if you are going from a lower humidity to a higher humidity, majority of houseplants are not going to complain about that. The only plants that would get upset about that would be cacti, but actually some cacti can survive in a more humid condition as well. You would just have to research and figure out which plant is going to be able to do that. Generally, you will not ever have to acclimate a plant going from lower humidity to a higher humidity. Most plants tend to thrive in that higher humidity environment, and it's preferred, especially tropical houseplants. Next, we want to talk about going from a high light situation to a low light situation. A lot of plants, especially tree plants like the fiddle leaf fig, will drop leaves when they're moved from a really great light spot to one that doesn't have very much light at all. Light is energy for plants. It's how they do all of their processes when they photosynthesize. It helps them absorb nutrients. It helps them utilize water. If they don't have enough light, they can really suffer from it. So it's like being able to eat full meals all the time and then going down to little teeny tiny one piece of bread every day. It would be a struggle to go from full meals to just a small meal every day. So definitely keep this in mind when you are moving your plants. Something like a fiddle leaf fig is going to drop leaves because they're not going to be able to sustain them. So when you're moving them from a high light position, try to scoot them over to a lower light position just a little bit more every single day. If you move them too quickly, you just pick them up from a highlight position and stick them in a dark corner in your house, they are not going to be happy. They are going to shed majority of their leaves. That's just what's going to happen. So keep that in mind if that's what you end up doing. Just try to scoot them over if you're patient over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, and just scoot them, moving them to less and less light over time. They will be much happier and have a lot less leaf loss for you if you just take it a little bit more slow. They don't have legs, they don't walk around. Trees especially tend to root where they're at and they'll stay there for their entire life. So they tend to get pretty cranky when we're up and moving them all over the place. Another one I wanted to talk about is moving plants from a low light situation like inside your house to a high light situation like outside on your porch or in your yard. We tend to do this every spring and summer. We do have a video on that. It is great to be able to give your plants more light. They are going to thrive in it, but going from one extreme to another extreme can cause a lot of stress on your plant. This can cause leaf loss. It can cause leaf burning. Some plants are not made for that bright direct light, need to be pulled back into the shade as well. If you are planning on moving your plants into a higher light position, just like we've talked about before, it's essentially slowly getting them used to it. So you would take your plants from inside, you would move them outside, you would put them in a very dark corner of your porch or under a tree, under a canopy, something just very shaded. This will be almost the same light as bright direct light in your home. So keep that in mind. A shaded area outside is basically direct bright light in your home. I know that sounds crazy, but because we basically have roofs over our heads all the time, unless you have floor to ceiling windows, this is basically what the lights end up being like. Which is great for a lot of tropical houseplants because they don't need that bright direct light. Most of them are understory plants and they can handle that. Some of them can handle more direct light though. So if you want to scoot them out from under that, you just scoot them out a little bit more. You move them into morning light first, and then you can get them used to morning light over a few days, and then you can get them to have a little bit of afternoon light. They still may need shaded afternoon light. Even cacti that absolutely love sun can still burn in bright afternoon light outdoors. It just depends on where you're located at. If you're in the north, that light is not going to be as bright outside as if you were in the south. So keep in mind where your plants are coming from and what they can handle. But just slowly scooting them into that new condition is what's really going to help them out and prevent that leaf loss and burning. Another one that needs to be addressed is taking plants from warmer conditions into cooler conditions. This can happen in a variety of ways. We can have spring and summertime where our houses are in the 70s and they start to get in the 80s. That's a little too much, so we turn on the air conditioners and that makes the entire rooms go down to 60 degrees. This can be a bit shocking for plants, especially if they're sitting in front of the air conditioning unit and they get blasted with that cold air. You'll definitely see some frost damage. You'll definitely see some leaf loss. You will see little crisping, little burning. Plants generally do not like really big changes like we've talked about. If you are going to do this, instead of drastically dropping the temperatures like that, slowly turn down the thermostat so that it's a few degrees every single time. You can do this over the course of a week or two, just like we've talked about before, just slowly getting the plants used to these new, more extreme conditions. The same is if you were going to go and take them outside. You know, outside is a bit cooler than your indoors, so you want to make sure that you're opening the window a little bit, just getting them used to the cooler air, and then you can go and fully put them outside if it's cooler temperatures. Most houseplants cannot survive frost, so that is another thing to keep in mind. Try not to put your plants out there before the frost date. In the 50s and lower, generally most houseplants will not be very happy. Houseplants in general, most of them are tropical plants, so they prefer to have it warm. So if you go below certain temperatures, they will get cranky. If you were going to do the extreme temperatures, just make sure to acclimate them slowly. Make sure that you're getting them used to a little bit at a time, little changes at a time, and that way your plants won't go into shock and they won't be upset. They won't drop all their leaves that you spent all this time trying to get them to grow. All of these things are possible. Your plants don't have to stay where they're at. They don't have to be in the same conditions all the time. They do have their extreme limitations on either sides of the fields, but they definitely can handle a lot more changes than we think, and using this method and acclimating your plants can really help get them used to different conditions and be able to change up your home and your environment and even make better conditions for them to grow more happily in, depending. Be sure to check out indoorgardening.com. There's lots more tips and information there. We are always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!